The simulation begins. The Galactic Defense Academy's most prestigious simulation chamber hummed with energy as thousands of alien cadets from across the galaxy prepared for their final examination. Commander Zeflock of the Crystalline Vorthak Empire stood at the central podium, his translucent blue form radiating confidence as he addressed the assembled students. "Welcome, cadets, to the Keth Mori Siege scenario." His voice echoed through the massive chamber. For 103 years, this simulation has tested the finest military minds in the galaxy. The average completion time is 72 standard hours. The record holder, achieved by the brilliant Andromedans, completed it in 18 hours and 47 minutes. A murmur of respect rippled through the crowd of various alien species. Tentacled Zephyrians whispered excitedly to their scaled draconian neighbors, while the insectoid hivlings clicked their mandibles in anticipation. Zeflock's crystalline features shifted into what might have been a smile. "Today, we have representatives from 463 species. Each team will face the same challenge: a heavily fortified enemy stronghold, protected by advanced shields, automated defense systems, and a garrison of 10,000 hostile combatants. Your mission is to capture the facility with minimal casualties to your own forces." The commander's gaze swept across the assembly, lingering momentarily on a small group seated in the far corner. "Oh, and we have some special guests today. A delegation from the newly discovered Sol system. Humans, I believe they call themselves." Laughter erupted from several sections of the audience. A particularly loud guffaw came from Captain Vextar, a 7-foot-tall reptilian from the Soros Dominion. "Deathworlders," Vextar shouted, his voice dripping with mockery. "I heard these primitives still use chemical propulsion for space travel. What are they going to do? Throw rocks at the enemy?" More laughter followed. Even some of the instructors couldn't suppress their amusement. In the corner, 5 human cadets sat quietly, seemingly unbothered by the ridicule. Their leader, a woman with short brown hair and calm green eyes, simply smiled. Her name tag read Captain Sarah Chun. Beside her sat Lieutenant Marcus Rivera, a stocky man with intelligent dark eyes. The other 3 team members, Sergeants Alex Thompson, Nina Okafor, and Jake Sullivan, maintained similarly composed expressions. "Silence," Zeflock commanded, though his tone suggested he had enjoyed the outburst. "The simulation will begin momentarily. Teams, please enter your assigned chambers." As the various alien teams filed into their simulation pods, chattering excitedly about strategy and tactics, the human team moved toward their assigned chamber with quiet determination. "Well, this should be entertaining," Captain Chin muttered under her breath, her voice laced with dry humor. "A century-long puzzle that no one's managed to crack in under 18 hours. I'm sure they've never encountered anyone quite like us before." Lieutenant Rivera chuckled softly. "Think they've studied human military history, Captain?" "Somehow I doubt it," Chin replied, her smile widening. "But they're about to get a crash course." The simulation chamber sealed around them with a soft hiss. The walls disappeared, replaced by a stunning 3-dimensional battlefield. Before them stretched a massive enemy fortress, its dark spires reaching toward an alien sky. Energy shields shimmered around the structure, like a protective bubble, while automated plasma cannons tracked potential threats from their positions along the walls. "Impressive," Sergeant Thompson whistled. "That's some serious firepower they've got there." The fortress was indeed formidable. Multiple layers of defensive barriers surrounded the central command complex. Anti-aircraft batteries dotted the landscape, their barrels gleaming menacingly in the artificial sunlight. Patrol ships circled the perimeter in precise formations, their sensors sweeping constantly for intruders. Standard approach would be to probe for weaknesses, Sergeant Okafor observed, studying the tactical display that appeared in their shared field of vision. Map the patrol patterns, identify blind spots, maybe try to infiltrate their communication networks. "That's what everyone else will do," Chin agreed, "and that's why it takes them 3 days to complete this thing." She turned to face her team, her expression shifting from casual observation to focused intensity. "Gentlemen, ladies, what do we know about human warfare that these aliens clearly don't?" Rivera grinned. "We don't play fair. We improvise," Thompson added. We use our environment, Sullivan contributed. And we're really, really good at breaking things. Okafor finished with a wicked smile. Chin nodded approvingly. Exactly. They've designed a scenario based on their understanding of civilized warfare. Careful planning, methodical advancement, minimal collateral damage. Very proper. She gestured toward the fortress. But they made one critical error. They assumed we'd play by their rules. The tactical display showed various conventional approach routes, all heavily defended and requiring significant time to navigate safely. Chen studied them for exactly 30 seconds before dismissing the entire analysis with a wave of her hand. Rivera, what's our immediate environment look like? The lieutenant consulted his instruments. We're positioned on a plateau approximately 2 kilometers from the target. Terrain is rocky, some vegetation. Gravity is 0.87 standard. Atmosphere is breathable but thin. Weapons and equipment. Standard Galactic Defense Force loadout. Energy rifles, personal shields, reconnaissance drones, emergency supplies. Rivera paused. Oh, and according to the scenario parameters, we have access to orbital support if we can establish a secure communication link with our fleet. Chen's eyes lit up with predatory satisfaction. Orbital support. How wonderfully convenient. She activated her communication device. This is Captain Chun to Orbital Command. Do you copy? A crisp voice responded immediately. Orbital Command here, Captain. We have your position. What are your orders? I need a complete tactical scan of the target area. Every detail. Power sources, structural weak points, underground facilities, the works. Scanning now, Captain. Data incoming. The information flooded their displays within seconds. The fortress was even more impressive than it had initially appeared. Underground bunkers extended deep into the planet's crust. The energy shields were powered by a massive fusion reactor buried beneath the central command structure. Supply lines ran through heavily armored tunnels, connecting various sections of the complex. Look at that. Thompson pointed to a section of the scan data. They've got their main power coupling exposed on the eastern approach. Probably figured no one would be crazy enough to make a direct assault on the most heavily defended section. They were right, Chin said with a dangerous smile. No one would be that crazy. No one except us. She opened a communication channel to the entire team. Gentlemen, ladies, I present to you the human approach to siege warfare. Why spend 3 days carefully dismantling their defenses when we can simply remove their ability to defend in the first place? Rivera was already working on his tactical computer, running calculations. If we can take out that power coupling, the entire eastern shield array will collapse. But, Captain, it's a suicide run. The approach is completely exposed to their heaviest weapons. Not if we approach it correctly, Chin replied. Sullivan, what's the maximum safe distance for orbital bombardment without causing civilian casualties in the surrounding area? Sullivan consulted his targeting computer. According to the scenario parameters, the closest inhabited area is 47 kilometers away. We could level this entire complex without violating the rules of engagement. Perfect, but we're not going to level it. We're going to be much more surgical. Chen's plan was taking shape with frightening efficiency. While the other teams were undoubtedly still analyzing patrol patterns and defensive layouts, the humans were preparing to turn the entire scenario on its head. Okafor, I need you to calculate the exact trajectory for a precision orbital strike on that power coupling. One shot, minimal collateral damage, maximum effect. Already on it, Captain. The angle is tricky but doable. Thompson, start jamming their communications. I want them blind and confused when we make our move. With pleasure. Chen activated her command channel again. Orbital Command. Prepare for precision strike authorization. Target coordinates incoming. Standing by, Captain. The fortress continued its methodical defensive patterns, completely unaware that 5 humans were about to demonstrate why their species had earned the nickname Deathworlders throughout the galaxy. You know, Rivera commented as he watched the enemy patrols through a scope, they're going to be really annoyed when they realize how we solved their century-old puzzle. Chin laughed, a sound that somehow managed to be both amused and terrifying. Good. Maybe next time they'll think twice before underestimating the species that fought its way off a planet where everything was trying to kill it. She raised her hand, ready to give the signal that would end the simulation in a way that would be remembered throughout the Galactic Defense Academy for generations to come. Ready, team? 4 voices responded in unison. Ready, Captain. Then let's show these aliens how humans wage war. The signal dropped, and with it, a century of carefully constructed assumptions about proper military tactics were about to be shattered by 5 representatives of a species that had never learned the meaning of impossible. Hashtag Part 2, 20 Minutes of Chaos. The first indication that something had gone catastrophically wrong with the simulation came when every monitoring station in the Academy's command center began screaming alerts simultaneously. What in the 7 hells of Kethmore is happening? Commander Zevlok shouted as his crystalline form flickered with agitation. Why are the power readings spiking in Simulation Chamber 47? Senior Instructor Malakthar, a distinguished Andromedian with silver skin and 4 arms, frantically worked his control panel. Sir, the human team just requested orbital bombardment authorization. They're targeting the primary power coupling on the fortress. Impossible. Captain Vextar hissed from his observation post. No one has ever attempted a direct assault on the eastern defenses. It's suicide. Zevlok's form brightened with what might have been panic. Shut down their orbital support immediately. Sir, I can't. Malakdar's voice cracked with strain. They've already established a secure link, and according to Academy regulations, we cannot interfere with active tactical operations once they've been properly authorized. Inside Simulation Chamber 47, Captain Chen's voice cut through the chaos with terrifying calm. Orbital command. Fire when ready. Firing in 3, 2, 1 impact. The precision strike hit the fortress's power, coupling with surgical accuracy. The massive energy beam, designed to simulate the kind of orbital bombardment that could crack a moon, focused its entire destructive force on a target no larger than a ground vehicle. The effect was immediate and devastating. The eastern shield array didn't just collapse. It exploded outward in a cascade of energy feedback that overloaded half the fortress's defensive systems. Alarms blared throughout the complex as automated systems struggled to compensate for the catastrophic power loss. Phase 1 complete. Chen announced with satisfaction. Thompson, how's our communication jamming coming along? Their command structure is in complete disarray, Captain. They're trying to coordinate repairs, but I'm feeding them false information about which systems are actually functional. Inside the Fortress simulation, the defending AI was experiencing something it had never encountered in 103 years of operation. Pure, unadulterated confusion. Its programming had prepared it for siege warfare, infiltration attempts, technological attacks, even attempts to negotiate. It had never been programmed to deal with someone who simply removed its ability to function and then started lying to it about the extent of the damage. Sullivan, what's our window looking like? Chen asked. The gap in their eastern defenses will remain open for approximately 6 minutes before their backup generators can restore partial shield coverage. But Captain, even with the shields down, they still have enough firepower to stop a conventional assault. Chen's smile could have powered a small starship. Who said anything about conventional? She activated her team communication system. Listen up, everyone. We're about to demonstrate why human military doctrine has a concept called overwhelming force. Rivera, I need you to paint every single defensive position on the eastern approach. Already done, Captain. 37 plasma cannons, 14 missile batteries, and approximately 200 infantry positions. Outstanding. Orbital Command, this is Captain Chun. I need a continuous bombardment pattern on the following coordinates. Duration, for minutes. Intensity, maximum non-lethal suppression. There was a pause from Orbital Command. Captain, that's going to completely level their defensive positions. That's the idea. But the scenario is designed for capture with minimal casualties. Chen's voice turned dangerously sweet. Define casualties, Orbital Command. Another pause. Well, technically, since this is a simulation, there are no actual casualties. Then there's no problem, is there? No, Captain. Beginning bombardment now. What followed could only be described as the most beautiful display of controlled destruction ever witnessed in the Academy's history. Beam after beam of precisely targeted energy struck the fortress's defensive positions with mathematical perfection. Each shot was calibrated to disable rather than destroy, but the cumulative effect was absolutely devastating. In the command center, alien instructors watched in stunned silence as their century-old puzzle was systematically dismantled with the subtlety of a supernova. They're just bombing everything, Vextar whispered, his earlier mockery replaced by something approaching awe. It's not random bombing, Malakthar corrected, his 4 hands working frantically to track the pattern. Look at the targeting sequence. They're eliminating threats in order of danger level while maintaining tactical corridors for advancement. This is incredibly sophisticated. Zeflok's crystalline form had gone completely transparent, a sign of extreme emotional distress in his species. In all my years of military service, I have never seen such efficient brutality, suggested Professor Klindar, an elderly Zephyrian who had been observing quietly from the corner. I was going to say practical thinking, Zeflok replied weakly. Back in the simulation, Chin watched the bombardment with professional appreciation. Beautiful work, Orbital Command. Okafor, what's our casualty projection? 0 killed. Approximately 1,500 incapacitated by stunning effects from the energy discharges. Their defensive capability is down to 12% of original strength. And their morale? Thompson chuckled as he monitored the enemy communications. What morale? Half of them are trying to surrender, and the other half are requesting immediate evacuation. Chin nodded with satisfaction. Phase 2 complete. Time for Phase 3. She activated her general communication channel. Attention, Fortress Garrison. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Terran Defense Forces. Your defensive positions have been neutralized, your power systems are offline, and your command structure has been compromised. You have 30 seconds to surrender unconditionally, or we will demonstrate why humans are classified as a Class 7 aggressive species. Inside the fortress, the defending AI was processing this communication with something approaching electronic panic. In its vast database of military protocols, it found no proper response to a demand for surrender delivered with such casual confidence after such an overwhelming display of force. Its programming finally settled on the most logical response available. This is irregular. The scenario parameters do not include provisions for complete tactical surrender after only 14 minutes of engagement. Chen's laughter echoed through the communication system. Irregular? Friend, you haven't seen irregular yet. You have 15 seconds remaining. But we still have significant defensive capabilities. Our central bunker is impregnable. Our underground tunnels are secure. 10 seconds. This is not how siege warfare is conducted. There are protocols, procedures, time-honored traditions of military engagement. 5 seconds. Wait. Time's up. Chen's voice shifted from casual conversation to cold command authority. Orbital Command, I need a demonstration strike on the fortress's secondary communications array. Something loud and impressive, but not structurally damaging. Understood, Captain. Firing now. The blast lit up the simulation chamber like a small sun. When the light faded, a mushroom cloud rose from where the communications array had been, carrying with it the last remnants of the defending force's confidence. Chen's voice returned to its conversational tone. Now, as I was saying, you have a choice. Surrender now, or we can continue this conversation after we demonstrate what humans do to bunkers that think they're impregnable. The response came immediately. We surrender. We surrender unconditionally. Smart choice. In the command center, dead silence reigned as the implications of what they had just witnessed settled in. 103 years of military tradition have been casually obliterated in less than 20 minutes by 5 representatives of a species that most of the galaxy still considered primitive. Commander Zeflok finally found his voice. How is this possible? Professor Klindar's tentacles writhed with what might have been amusement. Commander, I think we've been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about human warfare. What do you mean? We've been treating this as a puzzle to be solved through careful analysis and methodical application of force. The humans treated it as a problem to be eliminated through the most efficient means available. Galactic was still staring at his instruments in disbelief. They didn't try to capture the fortress. They simply removed its ability to resist capture. There's a significant philosophical difference. Philosophy? Vextar sputtered. They just committed technological warfare on a scale that violates every principle of civilized military engagement. Did they? Clindar asked mildly. Let me check the scenario parameters. His tentacles danced over his control panel. No violations of the rules of engagement. No excessive casualties. No prohibited weapons usage. No breaches of Academy regulations. Then how? They won by changing the nature of the contest itself. Instead of playing the game we designed, they created their own game with their own rules. In Simulation Chamber 47, Captain Chun was conducting the formal surrender ceremony with the same casual efficiency she had displayed throughout the engagement. Excellent cooperation, she told the defeated AI. Your forces will be treated according to galactic conventions. Medical attention will be provided for the incapacitated, and your command structure will be preserved for post-engagement analysis. Captain Chun, the AI's voice was subdued. May I ask you a question? Of course. In all my operational years, no attacking force has ever achieved victory through such direct methods. Is this typical of human military doctrine? Chun exchanged glances with her team, all of whom were struggling to suppress grins. Actually, she replied with dangerous sweetness, this was us being subtle. The AI processed this information for several long seconds. Subtle? Oh, yes. We didn't want to make a bad impression. On our first day at the Academy. Another pause. What would not subtle look like? Rivera couldn't help himself. We have started by bombing the entire fortress into rubble and then sent in the cleanup crew. But that would violate casualty minimization protocols. Not if we evacuated everyone first, Thompson added helpfully. You would evacuate the enemy before attacking them? Sure, Sullivan chimed in. We're not monsters. We'd give them fair warning and a reasonable amount of time to clear the area. And if they refuse to evacuate? Chen's smile returned to full intensity. Then we'd demonstrate why evacuation was the smart choice. The simulation chamber's exit chimed, indicating that the scenario had been officially completed. As the walls reappeared and the fortress faded away, the human team began collecting their equipment with a casual air of people who had just finished a routine training exercise. Well, Chen announced her team. That was refreshing. It's been a while since we had a chance to do things a simple way. Outside in the command center, an entire galaxy's worth of military theory was being hastily reconsidered as the instructors watched 5 humans emerge from their simulation chamber, chatting casually about where they might find decent coffee in the Academy's cafeteria. Commander Zeflok's crystalline form had regained some of its color, but his voice still carried traces of shell shock. 20 minutes and 37 seconds. They completed the Keth Mori Seed scenario in 20 minutes and 37 seconds. New record. Galactic observed unnecessarily. By approximately 17.5 hours, Clindar added with what sounded suspiciously like admiration as the human team disappeared down the corridor. Still discussing coffee preferences, Vextar slowly turned to face his fellow instructors. I think, he said carefully, we might need to redesign our entire military curriculum. Nobody disagreed.